Copyrighted. My name is Ed Howie, and this is How We Grow a Brand.
1, 2, 3,
If you like what you learned from this video, help us promote this channel by clicking the like button below and subscribing to our channel, How We Grow a Brand. Ready to go? Let's get into today's chat. All right, Tom Ladegaard back on How We Grow a Brand, and we're talking copyrights. Copyrights, do they matter? Like if you're not like a book editor?
They absolutely matter. If you're creating content, you want to get a federal copyright registration for your content. It prevents people from using it and distributing it or making derivative works from your hard work.
And isn't that pretty much what every brand is doing in marketing as they're creating content, especially now with social media and blogs and all that?
Absolutely. That's exactly the kind of material that you would want to copyright.
All right, so let's break this down for not only our entrepreneurs, but our business leaders, our brand leaders, just for pure trivia, right? So let's break it down. What is a copyright?
A copyright is a bundle of rights that are associated with the content that you create. So it is the right to own, use, distribute, duplicate, make derivative works therefrom. So it's a bundle of rights that attach to the content that you create, and it prevents third parties from using your works without your consent, from copying it, from distributing it, and from making derivative works. So derivatives are when someone takes what you make and they change it and they turn it into their own. That's called a derivative work. That's also copyright infringement. So you can prevent people from making derivatives of your work.
Okay, so do I have, if I'm going to copyright all this stuff, do I have to like send it to the courthouse every time I do something?
Well, it doesn't go to the courthouse. It goes to the U.S. Copyright Office.
Okay.
So it doesn't go to the courts. That's an important distinction. And then it depends on the circumstances. So let's say you've got a bunch of distinct works, but they're part of a series. Let's say you've got several videos or several articles or books, and you want to get them all copyrighted at once. You either need separate applications for each work, or you can apply for them as a series, but you can only do it as a series if they're all released at the same time. So if they're dropped out over time, which a lot of videos and blog content are, each separate article or video, each publication is a separate copyright requiring a separate application unless they're all released at once.
Okay, so let's use How We Grow a Brand as an example. We've got 50, 60 episodes. And I believe at the very end of every episode, there's a little C circle with the year and How We Grow a Brand or B2I Creative LLC. Is that not enough?
So you don't need to have the Circle C. You can do the Circle C. What that does is it puts the world on notice that this is mine right here. Do not take it. Do not use it for any unauthorized purpose. You don't have to have the Circle C, but it's kind of your way of planting your flag saying this is mine.
Yep.
Now, unlike trademark, where you have to have the federal registration to say Circle R, for copyright, you don't need a federal registration to say Circle C.
Okay.
You can put it on your works at the time of creation. I strongly recommend that you do. You're not required to do it, but you don't need a federal registration. So at the time you create something, you have what's called a common law copyright.
Common law copyright.
It attaches automatically as a matter of law whenever something is created. It doesn't even have to be published. As soon as you create something, you have a common law copyright. Now that's distinct from a federal registration. So common law copyright comes with less rights. You don't have access to federal courts. You don't get statutory penalties. You don't get attorney's fees, but you can go to court, state court, with a common law copyright claim and protect yourself.
Okay. So if I wrote an article on the power of using ink on paper or something like that, That's really bizarre. Is that distinct? Do you copyright that? If I wrote an article on 3 ways to exercise better, to breathe better and exercise, should I copyright that?
It's a business decision for you, whether it's worth that investment. You could, let's say you've got an article and it's getting a ton of views and engagement, and maybe it's getting shares. Maybe that's something you want to lock down with a copyright registration.
Okay.
You might not want to do it for every article on your blog. You might want to do it for every video on your YouTube series. But it costs a fraction of what it costs to get a trademark registration.
Okay.
So trademark registrations cost $250 per class. For copyright, it's something like $50 or $60 per application. So the cost is the barrier to entry is a lot lower for copyright.
Okay, and so with that application, do you submit, like, say, the manuscript of the book or all the content, like the entire piece?
That's correct. I did one once where I actually mailed a book to the copyright office, and the process took like a year. It took forever because they're backlogged, especially because of COVID, and then it has to work through the system and get routed. So in the application, you submit a PDF of the copyrighted work itself. Now, it could be an audio recording, so I don't want to use PDF, too exhaustively, but you submit a copy of the copyrighted work with the application.
All right. So, wow. Okay. So copyrights are important, and they're important to protecting the assets you create, right?
Yes. And so it doesn't attach. This is an important distinction. Copyright does not attach to the title. So you can have identical titles, and each of you can have a copyright and coexist. This is where it's different from trademark. Really? For trademark, if you have a same or similar mark, you're going to get denied. Whereas in copyright, you can have the same name of a book. It doesn't matter. The name can be identical. Copyright does not attach to the name of a work. It's to the content of the work. And the legal standard is there some modicum of originality? That's the legal standard for copyright. So let's say you want to write a book about branding. Okay, well, there's a million books about branding out there. You're allowed to put your own take on branding. There just has to be some modicum of creativity in your work. So you can do a book on analyzing statutes. So I'm speaking as a lawyer right now. Now, a statute is something that's in the public domain. It's made by the government. It's public. You can't copyright a statute. Okay. But if you're going to organize it, analyze it, explain it, provide hypotheticals and examples, that's copyrightable. That's something where there's a modicum of creativity. So the statutes themselves you can't copyright, but your analysis of them is copyrightable.
Okay, so it's really like your lens, your take on the world. It's your modicum of originality, which hopefully every brand has part of some modicum of originality, right?
Well, it's modicum of creativity. I think I misspoke. Modicum of creativity.
Creativity, okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter how well-worn that path is. I want to write a book on the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. There's 100 books out there on that. But as long as there is some modicum of creativity in the work, through how you explain it and organize it and analyze it, then it's copyrightable.
All right, so let's you're an empath, I'm an empath. We know what it's like to run our own business. There are like gazillion decisions, gazillion priorities we're processing every day. Where does copywriting kind of like fit into the overall stewardship of a brand for a business owner, for the business leader? How much energy should we put into it? And like, how do you determine when we should copyright and when we shouldn't?
It's a business decision. There's not a black or white, yes or no, here or then answer. Like where, in contrast, like in trademark, my answer is really easy. You get your trademark yesterday. For copyright, it kind of just depends on the circumstances. I work with a lot of people in the coaching industry. I work with a lot of business coaches or life coaches, and they've got materials that they distribute to their clients. What's to stop that client from taking that and creating a derivative work of it and sharing it with a competitor, or that client really is a competitor in disguise? And so for someone like that, where your content is your lifeblood, your content is what people are paying you for, that's something I strongly recommend that you lock down with a federal trademark or copyright registration to prevent
so really
people.
if it's like the stuff in the box of cereal, if it's the actual
It's the cereal itself.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the framework, it is the actual it's the actual content, especially if you're like in a services or an influence or intelligence business, to where the content you're creating for your brand is actually what the brand is. So I'm a coach. I've got this framework of the 5 steps to being a more empowered leader. That framework is what I need to copyright because it is my own creativity and
your
product.
industry, your work product. Yeah, work product. I think that's the focus, what it should be.
Product, okay. Yep.
You want to protect your work product. So if you're a coach or a consultant, let's say you got a workbook that you distribute to your clients. You don't want that workbook getting in the hands of a competitor.
Okay.
Because you know what they're not going to do? They're not going to just put their name on it. They're going to tweak it and change it. That's a derivative work. By having a copyright registration, now you've got a means of enforcement of preventing someone from creating that derivative work.
Okay,
and so
that's
it's really, yeah. So if that work if that work product is what you do and it's the core of your business, then that's something you definitely need to get copyright.
The reality is that if you are not deliberately owning the brand you're growing, you don't deliberately own the brand you grow, right, Tom?
That's a great summary.
Awesome. Tom, how can our community get in touch with you if they need more help in copywriting and or even trade secrets?
Hopefully you can give a link to my website here in the video, but my website is ladegaardlaw.com. And I'm happy to give anyone who sees this video a free consultation to talk about the viability of their copyright or trade secret.
For sure. And if you want us to connect you with Tom directly, just go to edhowie.com, subscribe, and we will get you information on how to get with Tom directly via email. Awesome. Tom, always intriguing, always mind-blowing. We could do this for hours. Thankfully, we make it succinct, but it just means there's more to talk about next time. Tom, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Copyright wisely, create wisely, and share wisely. Wow, Tom, thanks. Always wealth of information.
It's been a pleasure.
I hope this helps and inspires your day. If any of this works on your business this week, I'd love to hear about it in the comments, or please message me directly. Can't wait to see what we chat about on the next episode. We'll see you soon.